Okay, so Sunderland have been promoted to the Premier League after a mental playoff victory, and they are showing full intention of going nowhere. They have made some crazy transfers like Granit Xhaka, Habib Diarra, and Simon Adingra from Brighton, and there is many more transfers they have also made, which are all going to feature in today's fully realistic Sunderland FM24 rebuild. Or we have got them into the Premier League. We've got all of the updated players, and we're looking to hopefully survive in the Premier League, and by the end of this rebuild, have Sunderland as a European club, and of course using realistic Roger Lebris tactics. So without further ado, let's get into it. And as mentioned, here we are on FM24 with Sunderland winning the playoffs. Now, I know there's a lot of people out there that have seen the video where I showed you how to update FM. There is no way of predicting the playoff games unless you keep save reloading. I save reloaded just 3 or 4 times, eventually got Sunderland to win the playoffs. So this save file will be available on Patreon with all the others as well. So if you're a Sunderland fan, today's video is going to be a banger for you, and the Patreon is probably a very good thing to get into. Now, we are using realistic Roger Lebris tactics. So again, these will be downloadable on the Patreon below. This is what things currently look like. They might get updated a little bit, but you can also see all of the signings are here in FM as well. We've got Isdior as the striker. When I made this video, which was 7 or 8 days ago in terms of simulation, I strictly asked ChatGPT 3 or 4 times, are we sure Sunderland are not signing a striker? Are they actually going to go into a Premier League campaign with Wilson Isdior up front? The answer every single time was yes. There is no links to a striker. Or what do you know? They've signed Mark Gui from Chelsea on loan. I don't think he's going to be that good in the Premier League, and I think they probably resort to playing Wilson Isdior a little bit more, and of course Elisa Mayenda as well. I don't think either of them are going to be leaving the club. Mark Gui isn't going to be in this rebuild. Apologies. Literally everyone else is going to be, including, of course, Simon Adingra on the left wing. For me, fantastic signing from Brighton. Excited to see what he can do as really the star man in this team. And then on the right-hand side, Chemsedine Talibi as well. I have actually gone into the in-game editor and edited this guy a fair bit. The editor has been used in this rebuild. It's been commented a few times in different videos to use it to get players that aren't rated very high on FM to be a lot better. That's something I've done here with Talibi. I've given him some good potential up to 160. And as a 110 current ability player, which is still not Premier League quality, but gives them at least a fighting chance. In the midfield, we have have Enzo Lefebvre, who was there last season, but is now a permanent signing, and Habib Diarra as well, who I'm hoping is going to be really good. I've not altered this guy's stats anywhere near as much as Talby's, but I think he's going to be good enough to play lots of games for us. And of course, Granit Xhaka. This is a surprising one, isn't it? Granit Xhaka back in the Premier League as a defensive midfielder for Sunderland. How interesting. What a random signing, but one I absolutely love from a Sunderland perspective. He is listed as a leading Premier League midfielder. I'd say he's right up there as a top 8 midfielder for sure, and they've gone and poached him from Bayer Leverkusen. Bayer Leverkusen did not want to let him go either, so it says quite a lot that Granit Xhaka has joined Sunderland. On the left-hand side, we've got Ronaldo from Atletico Madrid, a very good left-sided fullback, can also play centre-back as well. Great speed, good height on him, and good crossing ability while being very determined. So I like that signing a lot. Currently, we have Trey Hume as the right back. Good determination, obviously was there last season and will be staying around as the starting right back. And at centre back, I currently have Dan Ballard and then a space for one more. We'll get into my signings that I have also made on top of all the ones they've made in real life in just a minute's time. And in goal, of course, Anthony Patterson as well. I do feel like they might have made a signing in goal that I have not got on this rebuild as well. Yes, they've signed Robin Roos from NEC Nimjan. Also someone that's not going to be in this rebuild. Apologies. It takes a long time to make these videos and simulations. And when you're Sunderland and they're going as mental as they are in the transfer window, I've done all the research I could to see what players they're going to be bringing in. I didn't even question the goalkeeper. I was quite sure he was staying. He must be potentially moving somewhere, maybe to Burnley to replace James Trafford or something like that. But yeah, basically, we're not going to be getting anyone else. We will go through the transfers I have made on top of all of these players that are here. But as mentioned, this save file, so the start where they are promoted to Premier League with the updated players and updated database, will all be available on the Patreon, as will the start where I've made the transfers I've made, and the end of the rebuild where I've hopefully got Sunderland to be a Champions League or Europa League club. That will be also available on the Patreon Patreon with the tactic file, all up for £3 on sale. Or if you want to help support on a monthly basis, it is up in the £5 a month tier, along with every other rebuild file and tactic file. So that is the place where you can massively help support this channel to hopefully one day be a full-time content creator. Now, in terms of my additional transfers, number one is Max Johnston coming in from Sturm Graz. There has been a lot of links to the young Scotsman coming back to the UK, but this time joining in the Premier League. He is a good young attacking right back and cost me just £3.5 million, and it is someone I'm really excited to have at the club. Number two is the permanent signing of Chris Mempham. I believe he was on loan at Sunderland last season, and again, heavy links to him finally making that deal a permanent one. Cost me £15 million, has experience playing for Sunderland, and is a top tier talent. And finally, it's Tommy Doyle joining from Wolverhampton Wanderers, coming in to be a top tier midfielder. Again, a lot of links in real life. Again, apologies if these links were slightly outdated. This video has been in the books for about 9 days now, but Tommy Doyle, I think he's a fantastic midfielder and would really benefit from joining a club like Sunderland that are going to hopefully push for safety this season, and would be a pretty good midfielder for them as well. I've actually got him starting in front of Habib Diarra, mainly here on Football Manager for them reasons, but the team is looking like so. There has been some slight tweaks to when you guys last saw it to make it more for the signings that we have got here now. Doyle as a box-to-box midfielder, Ronaldo more as a wing-back rather than full-back, and I think the wingers are slightly different as well, and it's Diarra as an advanced forward, just to make it top tier, but still keep that Enzo Labrie system. You can see the way we're playing. It's quite meta, but to be honest, it's exactly the way Enzo Labrie plays with his 4-3-3 system. So excited to see what this can do in the Premier League. After all the signings that Sunderland have made, we are still predicted the worst team in the league. I don't believe that's true. I think this season is going to be a very interesting one for relegations in the Prem. I can see both Leeds and Sunderland staying up. I think Burnley will struggle, especially after losing their goalkeeper and a few other players as well. But Sunderland and Leeds are going for safety. They have spent a lot of money, and I think they will be safe. I think a team like Wolves is in danger. I think Palace could be in danger if they lose Eze and Mateta. I think a team like Brentford could be in danger. Losing Mbuemo, potentially still losing Visser, losing Captain Norgard, losing centre-backs they've lost. The same goes for Bournemouth. West Ham, I think, could be in trouble as well. I think there's a real chance that Sunderland and Leeds and potentially even Burnley all stay up in this league, which is very different to how it's gone in recent years. I'm completely aware of that. But I do think a lot of the teams which have potentially been punching above their weight a little bit have lost a lot of their star players, and it'll be interesting to see how they recover from that, because it's not easy to replace Brian Mbuemo. It's not easy to replace Ilya Zabani and Dean Huyson at centre-back. It is going to be very difficult for them, and I would like to say, if I was a betting man, 2 teams out of the 3 that have come up are going to stay in the Premier League next season. I am probably going to do a Premier League predictions video, so make sure you keep an eye out for that one, because that'll be a good one to go into. Yes, I'm delusional before you even ask where I think Manchester United are going to finish, but we'll talk about that in another video. For now, let's check out this Sunderland rebuild and start things off. In the Premier League, we've got Leeds, Arsenal, Everton, and Chelsea in the month of August, and then Palace, United, and City in September. So quite a difficult start, but let's see what we can do. And if I can just ask one of a massive favour as well, is that over 75% of you that are watching this video right now are not subscribed to the channel. So do me a huge favour, smash that subscribe button and help push the Kempi army. Well, it was always going to be a difficult start to the season, and that's exactly what it was. We lost to Leeds, drew to Arsenal, lost to Everton, and drew to Chelsea. We managed to beat Rotherham 5-0, so we know we're better than them. But in terms of Premier League opposition, it's certainly a tough start. Losing to Leeds is really not ideal. A team I would certainly like to beat, and Everton as well. Drawing to Arsenal and Chelsea at the Stadium of Light gives me good confidence that at home we are going to be a very good side this season. But away from home, we are going to struggle. We are obviously currently in the relegation zone, but there is a long way to go. Which is why, now that I've come back in the middle of the season, I am not worried at all. We have managed to get the tactic cooking, and Enzo, Lafay, and Talibi and Neil are all linking up fantastically. The team with Xhaka in the base in the midfield, Dan O'Neill playing in midfield as well, is really starting to tick together, and the Roger Labrie tactics are absolutely cooking. This game was a home game against Wolverhampton Wanderers, a relegation rival with us, and we absolutely battered them. And that wasn't even the best victory in the first half of the season. Because away from home at St James's Park, Sunderland get the 1-0 victory over Newcastle. And I think that's almost as big as safety for some Sunderland fans. Going back into the Premier League, beating the Toon Army 1-0, that's an absolute dub. And even in terms of our form, after that awful month of August, we just managed to really turn things around. We beat Palace 2-1 and beat Leeds in the Carabao Cup. We did lose to City and Manchester United as expected, but then drew to Bournemouth, beat Brighton, drew to Forest and lost to Palace in the Carabao Cup. But beat Burnley, lost to Villa and Spurs, drew to Liverpool, drew to Fulham, then beat Newcastle, West Ham, Brentford and Wolves to go on a fantastic run. Meaning halfway through the season, Sunderland are currently at 9th place in the league. 19 games played, 7 victories, 6 draws, 6 losses, and a 2-goal difference with 27 points already. And kind of going towards the point I've made here, Leeds sitting in 12th place on 25 and Burnley on 20 points. Better off than Manchester United down in 16th. Oh, that hurts me so much. We've now got Tommy Tickles in charge as well. Good Lord. The Ruben Amorim experiment never works on FM. But the bottom 3 is Fulham, Wolves and Everton. 3 teams that I do think could struggle next season. And if they get relegated, well, best believe that if we stay up and one of them team gets relegated, I will be going to some of the relegated sides and poaching some of their star players, because there are some big players in smaller teams in the Premier League that I think could do wonders in the right system, and joining this Sunderland team, which is full of youngsters, some experience, could go a long way to helping us get European football. And it's got to be said, some of the star players in this side are the new transfers. Chemsedine Talibi has got 6 goals and 4 assists, and Simon Ingra 6 goals and 2 assists. Wilson Isdior, as the striker, has 5 goals and 2 assists. Tommy Doyle, 7 goal contributions. Enzo Lefebvre with 3. Dan Neil with 4. And even Ahmed Abdullahi with 1 goal in the 2 appearances. We saw him score earlier on. He's a player they've signed from Young AA Ghent, so the young team of Ghent in Belgium. And he seems to have popped up with a goal as well, which is pretty cool to see. The best performers at the club so far, though, Anthony Patterson in goal, Reinaldo coming in from Atletico Madrid, and Tommy Doyle. So the new transfers and some of the older players here at the club are absolutely smashing it. So let's see if we can carry on this form. And you know what? Potentially get Europe in season number 1. Now, don't worry, if we do, it won't be the end of the rebuild straight away. But what an amazing season that would be. Part of the fun in these rebuilds, when we rebuild a promoted side, is beating the big teams. And in this first season, we managed to beat Manchester United by quite some margin at the Stadium of Light. We did go down 1-0, but quickly turned things around with a long-range Enzo Lefebvre effort. Talibi then found Enzo Lefebvre on the right-hand side, driving down into that box midfielder, finding Wilson Isdior in the middle, which I don't know if that was the own goal by Matthias de Ligt or if that counted as Isdior's goal, but making it 2-1, and a third happened pretty quickly as well. Granit Xhaka sitting deep, linking up the play before another screamer from Enzo Lefebvre, who has been an unbelievable signing, and I still can't believe they quite managed to get him in the Championship, which is crazy. Patrick Roberts and Granit Xhaka linking up. An unbelievable ball from Xhaka, finds Adingra to find Isdior in the middle for 4-1 in this game. Manchester United are going to grab a couple of goals back, one coming from Mika Marmol right there. But before they grabbed their third, we grabbed our 5th in this game, just compiling the misery of Manchester United. A ball to the back stick, and youngster Abdullah Bar heads home. And as I said, they do grab a third. What I think is absolutely awesome to see is even with all their brand new signings, we are managing to use a lot of the youngsters that are at Sunderland that done well in the Championship last season and are also managing to progress in the Premier League this year. And that's something that I really wanted to do. I didn't want to go and get some absolute crazy superstars. And even next season, when potentially we can't tell what's going to happen in 12 months' time, so the realism factor is difficult to maintain. I still am not going to go crazy, but I still want to make sure that a lot of the Sunderland stars they've got in real life are staying around. I mean, someone we didn't even mention at the start, someone like Dan Neil, who is a great young central midfielder, has played 32 games for us this season, and it's really good. I'm glad that he's done that. Someone that hasn't played hardly as many games as they probably should have, and is really frustrating, is Habib Diarra. Football Manager doesn't rate him very highly at all. I could have done the same that I'd done with Talibi with him as well, but because of the amount of midfielders at Sunderland, I didn't do that. I slightly regret it because he looks really good in real life, and I'm excited to see him in the Premier League. But sadly here on FM, he's just not done anything. So potentially a slight oversight on my behalf. I probably should have done the same that I'd done with Talby for him. But as mentioned, due to the sheer amount of midfielders, I didn't want to like block him out because obviously Enzo Lefebvre is going to play. Obviously Granit Xhaka is going to play. The other midfield position, I did want to be a bit of a dogfight between Tommy Doyle, between Dan Neil, even we've got the Chris Rigg in here as well. That's not played any games hardly, but even he's here. Luke O'Neill is an older central midfielder or centre back that they play as well. So there's a lot of players here that have to get game time, and I'm glad they are getting the game time from real life as well, not just the new signings they've made. With that victory against Manchester United, we do currently sit down in 12th place above United on goal difference, already pretty much securing safety with 38 points. Fulham relegated, 14 points on the board after 29 games is awful. And there are some players in that team that I really, really like. Wolves on 17 are going to struggle, and Everton on 24. Burnley flirting with relegation, but ourselves and Leeds, I would say, are probably going to be safe with 10 games to go. Now, sadly, we couldn't complete the double over Newcastle. They ended up winning a 2-1 at the Stadium of Light. So a victory apiece and something to go in to next season with. The look of getting the double over Newcastle and making the Mackhams, I believe that's the Sunderland nickname, the best team in North East. Currently, we sit 14th for the Premier League with the season finished. And as I predicted, 3 out of the 3 getting safety. We finished in 14th with 44, Burnley 15th with 42, and Leeds in 17th with 37. Everton, Wolves, and Fulham all relegated from the Premier League, which I find hilarious. Coming back up is Southampton, Ipswich, and Leicester. Who'd have guessed it? Definitely me. It always seems to happen in these realistic rebuilds, which, is a little bit frustrating, but good to see that there is a lot of relegations here which aren't the teams that have been promoted. I think now, because on FM, with the database we've got, the new signings that they've made are coming in. So people like Sean Longstaff, what a random example, Sebastian Bornau, Lucas Perry, I don't know if he's a real signing, but Yaka Biyo, all the Lucas Lemessia, all the real signings that are being made in real life now by these teams that are trying to survive are doing really well in FM, which is good to see. Now, for us this season, star performer by average rating was Enzo Lefebvre, Tommy Doyle, and Andy Patterson. Goals-wise, Wilson Dior grabbed 15 and got 2 assists, which is great. Adingra grabbed 18 goal contributions, and Talibi grabbed 11. Potentially someone that's going to go to rotation next season. I locked him into pretty much every single game. Only 11 goal contributions at a 6.71, potentially can be improved upon next season. Financially, we are looking good. £80 million in the bank. In terms of debt, niche, which is lovely. In terms of transfer budget, £73 million. So I am going to go and get some big players for this season because I do think there's a good chance that we can get Europe this year. First up, in terms of outgoings, we did manage to raise £18 million with a few players leaving the door like Noel Huggins, Rusian, Ekwa, Alexic that weren't quite getting the game time they needed. So we raised a bit of money for them this season. And then in terms of incomings, I made just 4 signings this year. Number 1 was Oliver Sorensen coming in from FC Midtjylland, who looks like a fantastically well-rounded central midfielder, just 23 years of age, and coming in from Denmark seems like a very clever Premier League signing and something that I think Sunderland are going to look to do if they do stay in the league. Spend a lot of money in this first season, and in the second, go a little bit smarter with the finances. Try and get some experienced players in there that have played a lot of games that are still young and on absolute bargains as well. And this guy seems to tick every single box. Number 2 is going down to the Championship and getting one of the best centre-backs from last season. It's Rav van den Berg. We have signed him from Middlesbrough and he played 39 games last year, so I'm getting him straight into the club. And at 6.81 is decent as well. He's cost us 13.75 million. He has 5-star potential and he's going to be a really good rotational centre-back option for just 14 million. Number 3, I've gone to Braga and brought in Pau Victor. He has recently left, I believe, Barcelona was his parent club, to join Braga, and he's cost me £13 million. He is a bit more of a more well-rounded finisher on the wings. I think this allows us to move Adingra to the right-hand side and have Pau Victor as more of a striker/winger rather than 2 creative wingers. I think is a really good signing. And finally, potentially my favourite signing is Rodrigo Muniz coming in from Fulham. Fulham, relegated last season, is horrendous. He only scored 7 goals, got 2 assists, and we've splashed £19 million on him. But I think he's a top-tier striker. I really like him in real life as well. And it's something which Sunderland need. A little bit of a bigger, bulkier striker with good finishing ability, good off-the-ball work, high press still, decent speed. I think you kind of get the wrong approach when looking at him in real life. He's 6'1", he's big, but his link-up play, his speed is really good, and I really like him. So he's coming here to be our focal point at the number 9 position. As things said, I think I'm going to play more with Adingra on that right-hand side and Pal Victor on the left. Lefay, Doyle, and Xhaka, I think, are the starting midfielders, but we have, of course, got Dan Neil, Habib Diarra, and Sorensen all here as well. Left back, Ronaldo stays. Vandenberg and Metham, I think, is going to be the starting partnership, although Ballard could quite easily play as well. And Trey Hube and Johnston as the 2 right backs, with Patterson staying in goal. We have got some real top tier talent here. You sort of go through the team. Defense wise is quite young, but got experience with Chris Metham and Ronaldo. Midfield, Xhaka in the base with 2 very good creative midfielders in front. In attack, Adingra on the right. Brilliant last season for us and certainly has the ability to be a European player. And up front, Rodrigo Muniz. That focal point up front with good link-up play and good finishing ability. I genuinely think this team is good enough for European football. I wouldn't be surprised if we're predicted a little bit better. We are 18th this time, still around the same as Leeds and Leicester. Burnley predicted a little bit better than us. Ipswich and Southampton predicted to go straight back down. What a random Ipswich team that is. Sorry, just to randomly go on one here. Buendia into the Clyde. Gregor Krykowiak. That is a name I've not seen in a long time, coming in from Al Shabab, doing bits in the Championship, to be fair. And there was someone else in that list as well that I saw in this first team that looked very, very strange for Ipswich. Luka Jovic up front. What a random Ipswich team that is. Southampton, how are they looking? They've got Archer, Adozi, Armstrong, Aribo, Hamza Chowdhury, Larios, Matsuwa, a very Sunderland-esque team. I wonder if Tyler Dibbling has managed to go anywhere yet in this rebuild. He was someone that I was potentially interested in trying to get into the club. Still at Southampton as a rotational player. Sadly, isn't that good on FM, which is a shame. But that is the team for this season, and we are predicted to finish in the relegation zone. So let's go out there, upset the odds, and get Sunderland to European football. Well, this is a simply incredible start to the season, and a lot of it has come from the signings that I have made into the Sunderland team to take us to the next level, as we're about to see an absolute demolition of Leicester City, a new team into the Premier League after being relegated. Well, they should probably go straight back down. Sorensen scores early on, and then Rodrigo Muniz makes it 2-0 in 70 minutes. Trey Hube and Xhaka then linking up before finding Doyle, a ball through to Sorensen, a lovely flick through, and Rodrigo Muniz fires home for 3-0 in 72. By the way, that was 3 goals in 5 minutes, and then we grab a 4th late on as well, just to really, put the dampener on the fact that Leicester shouldn't be in the Premier League. A lovely finish from Sorensen, 4-0 in 90 minutes. That's a pretty good game. But it wasn't just the first game of the season that went so well. We also beat Ipswich 2-0 before losing to Forest and Manchester City, but beating Leicester, Leeds, drawing to Southampton, and drawing to Chelsea away at Stamford Bridge. Currently has Sunderland sitting 8th place in the Premier League, just 2 points off the top 3. And Rodrigo Muniz has 5 goals in 6 starts and a 7.12. And I may have found the secret to Sunderland becoming a European side, because Muniz, fantastic. And then this guy that I fully expected to be a backup rotation option, Oliver Sorensen. I have never seen him before in an FM rebuild, and my God, he looks fantastic. He's progressing really well, and he's just absolutely brilliant. A 7.2 average rating, 7 games in, is fantastic, and we are just doing really well. Enzo Lefay has become a slightly rotational player because of how good Sorensen is, which is very surprising. Obviously, Talibi rotating with Pal Victor, which, Pal Victor hasn't started very well with a 6.57, but is getting a lot of game time for us. In the defence, as sort of predicted, it is going to be Ravdenberg playing with Metham, but also Dennis Cherkin playing some games as that left-sided centre-back as well. He's got the height and the defensive ability to do so happy for him to play some games in there. I'm just very impressed by the start we've made to this season so far. Absolutely fantastic. And I do think this could potentially go on to be a pretty magical season for us. We've managed to beat a lot of the teams around us already. We're going to have some tough games coming up. Newcastle at Stadium of Light, Liverpool at Anfield, United at Old Trafford, Spurs at the Stadium of Light, and Arsenal at the Emirates. But if we can get to that midpoint of the season and we're still in the race, well, we'll be on for a charge. Well, as predicted, the month of October was going to be hard. We drew to Newcastle at home, lost to United at Old Trafford thanks to a brace from Brian and Bumo, and lost 1-0 to Spurs, but did manage to draw against Arsenal at the Stadium of Light, which we had made an absolute fortress and a place where teams simply hated coming. I mean, this was a game against West Ham United, a pretty simple 2-0 victory. Good to see Wilson Isdior getting on the score sheet before Rodrigo Muniz pressing from the front, forcing a mistake, and Simon Adingra finishing off for a 2-0 victory. And thanks to that fantastic home form, we were still sitting in the race for Europe. 9th place currently, 29 points and 3 points away from a European place, which would be a fantastic season. Rodrigo Muniz in the top 3 of goal scorers with Artem Dovbyk, Gyökeres and Haaland, showing that bigger, pacey striker with good finishing is very meta on FM. I think that says it exactly how it needs to be, even if pace isn't really, saying that, Dovbyk's pretty quick as well with 15. Obviously, Gyökeres being in and around that 15 mark. Muniz the same, and Haaland, well, a little bit quicker with 19. Christ, that's ridiculous. But Muniz doing very well with 6.96, 10 goals in 16 games. Does have some injury issues. Just this season alone for us has managed to have a sprained ankle ligaments, twisted ankle, which is both disappointing. I think he's going to be out for a few weeks of this one and already out for 4 weeks thanks to that one. So something to keep an eye on if you do sign Rodrigo Muniz. Can be a little bit injury prone, but my God, is he good in front of goal. The star player at the halfway point, Oliver Sorensen, Rodrigo Muniz, Adingra, Talibi's done well when he's played, and of course Enzo Lefebvre, and the top goal scorer, no one's surprised, it's Rodrigo Muniz. But sadly, as we come to the midpoint of March, it looks like we are potentially going to be not out of the race, but out of the race definitely for Champions League and potentially European football, as we are on 39 points, and it is very tight between Ipswich on 37 to Newcastle on 41. This season, I would love to do better than Newcastle, and getting European football would be a big bonus as well, but it is certainly going to be tough for the running of this season. With just 9 games to go, we need a severe amount of points. So we got into the lads, and we turned up. A 1-0 victory over Spurs, and a 2-1 against Manchester United. And we followed that up with a game away from home against Aston Villa, where we absolutely cooked. We managed to just turn up for the end of the season. Sorensen scoring a screamer past Emi Martinez to make it 1-0. Isdior then from the spot made it 2-0 in the 83rd. And to rub insult to injury, we grabbed a third in the 92nd minute with a ball out wide to Sorensen, who cuts it in to Chemsdean Talibi. As things stood, there was a chance of us getting into the European places, but the final day was going to be massive to secure that spot. Where we then faced up against Bournemouth. We were at home and it was in our hands. If we won this game, we were going to be a European side. So Armando Broja scored to make it 1-0 to Bournemouth to kick things off. And then Isdior scored from the spot to make the game 1-1. And Bournemouth scored once again to take the lead. A ball over the top gets cleared out. Christie knocks it down. A poor header attempt and Kluivert finishes home. And I'm not joking you when I say we are now in the 99th minute. An Enzo Lefebvre free kick goes into the top bins. And in the 101st minute, Habib Diarra finds Pau Victor down the left-hand side, whips it in and scores. And we win this game in the 101st minute. And you might say, well, you're not even in like a cup competition. How on earth are you in the 101st minute? I've got no idea. But that goal literally was 90 plus 11. A Kluivert injury in the 92nd could have been the reason why. And we had dominated this game. But thanks to a 101st minute goal, Sunderland finished 6th place on 58 points. 1 point clear of Spurs, 1 point clear of Brentford, and 5 points clear of Newcastle United. And Sunderland are a Europa League side. In terms of the tactics, we have absolutely cooked in this video. And like I said, this tactic and all the rebuild files are going to be available on the Patreon. £3 to get you all of them, or £5 for monthly support, where you get every tactic and rebuild file that we make here on the channel. Players absolutely cooked this year. I mean, on loan, Abdullahi, someone to potentially keep an eye out for. Just grabbed 17 goals, which is pretty good. But Muniz with 16. Isdior with 10 as the rotation striker. Adingra with 10. Pau Victor with 6. And the midfield doing bits as well. And my favourite signing, Ollie Sorensen. 10 goal contributions this season, cost me £7 million, was an absolute bargain, and he was absolutely fantastic. If you enjoyed the Sunderland rebuild, we got them to a European team in just 2 seasons using full realism, then make sure you smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and I'll speak to you next time.